Hello, I'm Regina Botros, and this is Backstage, where we talk with the who's who on stage, in dance, comedy and performing arts, speaking with the leading theatre makers of our times and how they came to the stage and what drives them and inspires them. My guest is Eloise Snape. She's an award-winning writer, actor, producer and voice artist. She did a Bachelor of Media in Writing at Macquarie University and got a scholarship to study in London. She's worked extensively as an actor in theatre and consistently on screen, most recently in Colin from Accounts. She has worked with her own independent theatre company, MopHead Productions, as well as Ensemble Theatre and Griffin Theatre Company. She's currently a creative producer with Critical Stages, and this production, Pony, is on at Griffin Theatre at the moment, is her debut play. And it was shortlisted for many awards, including the Queensland Premier's Drama Award, Sydney Rodney Seaborn Playwrights Award, Patrick White Playwrights Award, and Griffin Award. She's also worked across many radio stations, including here, 2SER, our home of stages, and is back to talk about her life in the theatre and her theatre in life, her life in the theatre. Oh, okay. So I was trying to go with some theatre reflecting life. Welcome, Eloise Snape.
Thank you so much, Regina. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to talk about this because I think, it is sort of based on motherhood and also about being a woman. But before we get into Pony, which is playing, and yeah, obviously, so great. Well, actually, take me back to your family. Did you grow up in a creative household? Like, what was it like for you?
No, not really. Like, I'm an only child. I grew up in the inner west. I'm one of those people I grew up in Balmain and now I still live there. It's like you spend your whole life going, I'm never going to stay here. I'm going to be really exotic and go and live all over the world. Anyway, now I'm back. I'm here. You cannot escape this peninsula. And this is actually where when I fell in love with my husband. He was living in Balmain, so that was sort of the moment I realised I was probably coming back. But no, I grew up in Sydney. I always loved the performing arts, but I sort of had that attitude when I got to the end of high school of, oh gosh, this will never be, like, you're not going to make a career out of that, so you should go and do something else. And so I actually went and studied journalism and a Bachelor of Media in Writing at Macquarie Uni. Right. And little did I know that I would come back to writing in this way. So it's actually kind of amazing. And I also studied radio as part of that degree, fell in love with it, and then now the voiceover work I do sort of ties in with everything that I studied when I was 18, thinking I was never going to, I didn't know what I wanted to do and that I was never going to make anything of it. And here I am.
Doing it all and so much more. So from there you went and did a scholarship overseas in London. Like, were you studying journalism then? Like, is that kind of what you were immersed in? Yeah. And how was that?
Look, let's just say I definitely didn't finish all of the subjects that I had been provided a very generous scholarship to go do. There was a point I remember I was over there studying at the University of Westminster, and it was part of my writing degree at Mac Uni, and I went over to this university, which is to me like it was bigger than anything I'd ever kind of experienced. And then I was so taken by Europe being on the doorstep that I just travelled. And I missed most of my exams, and I had a wonderful time gallivanting around Europe. I was away for about a year. I did complete most of the degree, but then when I came back to Sydney, I might have taken some subjects again so that I could get my degree. They were like, "You had a really good time in London." I did.
And from Balmain, you did get to go and see the world before returning.
I did, and I still wish to go back. It's funny. London is one of those places. I'm not sure if you have ever spent much time there or lived there, but it really, it holds a very special place in my heart, and I think it's because of the time of my life that I went. And so I'm just desperate to go back, and we've got a family now, but do it again with a family.
Yeah. And there is something about traveling overseas. It's more than just the study. There's something else that you were learning along the way. But obviously you're returning, like writing now. So you went off and you did radio and journalism and writing and traveling, and then you came back and you went, actually, I will do acting. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I met a lot of creative types in my year at Macquarie, and we all kind of congregated amongst the drama society, which was called Dramac. And actually a lot of the friends that I made at that time are all working in the industry now, some quite big names. And it's amazing to me that I think that little cohort, we all found each other. And when you're doing university drama, it's all obviously by choice, and it's the love of it. No one's making you do it. And so I found myself really spending a lot of time doing that. And it was then that I thought, well, I graduated, went off and actually worked in radio and worked for 2SER, and had a wonderful time, and actually really fell in love with radio as well. And then I thought at 25, you've been thinking about auditioning for drama school for a long time. Maybe you should do it. And that's where I went to the Actor Centre, and I actually my best friend Harriet Dyer, who made Colin from Accounts, the TV show you mentioned before. Yeah, her and I studied together, and we were in the same year, and we actually met in the final audition round. And and it's so funny. I look at like kind of where she's gone now and what I've done now, and it was funny because we used to always joke about that we were going to the acting school, that if you didn't get into the other ones, you went there.
Well, that's me as well. I did all the same similar things, and I ended up at the Actor Centre.
Yeah, but it truly was incredible. Like the best teachers. The reason that I'm doing what I'm doing and I'm actually working is because of the people I met at that school, and I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else.
So from there to now, like, what's happened in between? How did you kind of, find yourself in the world outside of studying?
It's funny, I had a really hard time, and I'm sure a lot of people do when they graduate. You have all your hopes and dreams, like, sort of, you put them all in that showcase at the end of your 3 years of study. And it was just like silence. And I think from that moment, I went, oh, okay, well, you can sit here, or you can try and do something. And that was from there that I got together with my beautiful friend Stephen Moltari, who now lives in Berlin, but he and I found this play, 4,000 Miles by Amy Herzog, which is this beautiful play that we wanted to do. We thought, well, maybe we could perform. It was so, I think about how naive we were. We're like, maybe we could perform in it. Maybe we could put it on somewhere. And we were lucky enough that beautiful Anthony Scoose, who had just taught me at the Actor Centre, wanted to direct it and wanted to work with both of us. And so we went ahead and produced it and put it on at ATYP Under the Wharf. And it just happened to do really well. And I think, the combination of his direction, and I think he'd just come off the back of a really successful show, Punk Rock, and they had a lot of sort of great vibes around it. And so from there, I think it was where I learnt to sort of produce, sort of. Indie theatre producing is the hardest thing to do. So I think once you've done that, then you can sort of produce anything because you've got no money.
Really have to love it.
You have to love it, and you have to sort of have some level of ambition, I guess. And that was where we formed MopHead, and that was sort of where it all started, I think, for me, was making work as opposed to, just getting cast in things. I sort of really had to make my work in order to be seen, but also to sort of become a better actor and a better creative.
And talking about having to love it to continue, I think anyone in the arts was really challenged during COVID to, hold on to their love. And this is when you actually wrote this I understand, pony. So let's talk about the beginnings of that idea.
Yeah, it's. I was thinking the other day that I never thought that the thing that I have probably been most proud of to date in my career is something that came out of 2020 and this period of time and having a baby. So I it's amazing, I think, what happens to people when they become parents or when women become mothers. I think there's like, I don't know, there's sort of a superpower that comes with it. I'm not saying that I'm that powerful or super, but it's more it's more the sort of I don't know, you think, oh, okay, if I can do that, like if I can kind of create a human and birth them and keep them alive, then maybe I could surely write a play. So in the kind of madness of those lockdowns and exhaustion, and I think I had no filter.
Because you were pregnant at the time?
Yeah, I found out I was pregnant in March 2020. Yeah, which was, when everything sort of just went bonkers. Yeah. And my incredible friend, Frida Lee, who I have to thank for all of this, said to me, I think I was 37 weeks pregnant. She sat me down, and she's a creative as well, and she's a mother. And she said, you will, this was before the pandemic even was a thing. She said, when you have this baby, I'm just warning you, you're going to go a little mental, and you're probably going to really like start to question your identity and who you are, and like where's your creative self in all of this. And so you should just write some things down. And I was like, well, I don't, what am I going to write? Like, I don't have a brain, let alone, I don't have any motivation right now. I don't have anything to write about. I bet you do. I bet you do. So the first thing I wrote down was, I think it was something along the lines of, sex during pregnancy is a weird thing. That was kind of like the first thing that I sort of, I was like, but no one cares about that. She's like, yeah, that's funny.
It is. And I have to ask, is that the first line in the play?
No, it was originally going to be called, actually, when then the pandemic hit, and I had my beautiful daughter, Winnie. And then I think about 2 months later, after she was born, I sort of came back to it because I was feeling all those things that Frida had said I would. And I came back to it. And then it became sex while pregnant during a pandemic is weird.
Oh, yeah.
And then we sort of, the idea started to go from there. And actually, it was then when I brought on Anthea Williams, who wanted to develop the idea with me as the dramaturg, and then eventually she's gone on to direct the production, that we then found what the actual story is and what it is now, which is actually very different too. I feel what I'm trying to say with the play now is actually talk about the impossibility of becoming a mother, and yet we still do it. And yeah, that's kind of, it's quite different to where the idea started.
So what is it? It's a one woman, one voice, and take us into the world.
So it's a one woman show. However, Briellen Clark, who's just, oh my gosh, incredible. I mean, as a first-time writer, to have such an incredible team behind it is just been, I've pinched myself every day because I think I'm so lucky. But she plays about 30 different characters. So Hazel is the main voice, and the story is hers. But we see various people, characters in her life. So her grandmother, her mother, her best friend. And then there's other various characters like her midwife, her cousin, her auntie. So it's her story, and we meet her as she is on the precipice of becoming a mother, but in her late 30s, and her body clock is working against her, and she isn't entirely sure she's ready, and is terrified of that change in her life. And that the sort of pressures that we put on ourselves, I think, in order to try and make it a possibility to function and be in the world as a a mother and a career and a person who wants to have a career and lives any kind of life that's fun, you know. And I think these pressures are sort of sitting underneath the story. Yeah.
And as I said, I think, like I sensed when I was reading about it, that it's also about being a woman. It's about all of these, like, having to cope with everything that thrown at you. How are you telling the story? Like, how are you making all of these characters in this work?
So to be honest, when I wrote it, I don't think I was thinking about structure because I'd never written a play before. So I didn't know what I was doing. And what I wrote was what I think is sort of more of what someone told me afterwards. It was actually one of the wonderful judges on the panel for the Queensland Premier's Drama Award said, "You've written a polymono drama." And I was like, wow. Oh, have I?
Ooh.
I didn't know that's what I'd done. And it's essentially, to me, like, it feels like an inner monologue.
Yeah.
That's just, you know, being spewed out onto a page. And Anthea, having a dramaturgical brain, came in and was really good at helping me find the structure.
Yeah.
And that actually the structure that we play with is the idea is that in the present tense, we start in the present tense and we return at the end, but we move back in time.
Oh.
And the only way we find ourselves catching up with the present tense is after she's gone through a sort of deep realization that she's had to, or something, I don't want to, no spoilers, but she's had to go through something particularly, I guess, traumatic, but also therapeutic in order for her to be able to move forward in the present tense and essentially have the baby.
Yeah. Okay. Which is also very transformative. What did you find? Like, what did you want to say about being a mother or being a woman or all of these things through this play? So personally, the thing that I found really confronting was in those early stages of having a newborn baby was how I sort of tried to still present in a particular manner to people and the world, and I wasn't completely honest about how hard it was. And I was so surprised because I thought, and I'd, you know, spoken to many people while I was pregnant. I was like, oh, you know, if things are difficult or if things are hard, then I will obviously reach out and I'll talk, because people tell you, you know, but you just don't realize it until you actually then are in those kind of the whirlwind of exhaustion and sleepless nights. And I really, like, I had postnatal depression and postnatal anxiety that came on quite quickly. It also left quite quickly, which was good. It was a concoction of the lack of sleep and the hormones. And I just still presented to everybody as if I was completely fine. I was like, oh yeah, I'm fine to go. I think after a week I said yes to some jobs. A week after. No. And I was like, and it was really when I had to stop and say to myself, why? Like, why are you afraid of failure? Or why are you afraid that you might admit that this is hard? Like, why are you afraid to tell people that you're struggling? And I think it's this idea that we put pressure on, I think, women to be sort of perfect mothers, or that, you know, or that it's something natural, that we're all born with this like instinct to be like earth mothers. And it's like, well, actually, you know, I think I am a wonderful mother, but like it's learning. Like, I'm learning how to do that, as opposed to it being like something that's just we're expected to just do it. Yeah. And I think that's probably what I'm trying to say in the play, is that, you know, Hazel isn't necessarily someone that we would look at and go like, oh yeah, you're a mother type. And then it's also like, why do we create these type? Like, what is a mother type? What even is that? So I don't know. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, it does. And I think also, like, I don't know. I couldn't help but think, you said sort of you felt like you weren't honest, but I think it's more that I don't think it's quite dishonesty. It's like maybe it's partly the picture that is painted, like you say. This is the woman motherly type, and if you don't fit into that, you're kind of trying to be that. But it's not like I think it's not dishonesty. It's just kind of trying to cope and you don't realize until you have that sort of self-awareness and you go, oh, hang on, I'm just trying to do that and I'm not coping.
Yeah.
Do you remember the moment where you realized, oh, I'm not coping or that?
Yeah, I do. It was so obvious because I actually called my mum up, and I'm so lucky that she lives 2 streets away. And thank God during that time as well, like during COVID. And I said, and I remember Winnie was about 7 weeks old, and it was right when she was like, it was sort of when that time of purple crying sometimes happens, but she wasn't doing that. It wasn't that extreme, but she was very, I think she was probably going through a growth spurt. It was just like nonstop, couldn't comfort. And I remember I called my mum and I just said, oh, I think maybe I can't do this. And she came over and I just handed Winnie to her, and she was amazing. And Mum looked at me and she said, okay, do you know what we're going to do? You're going to call up the doctor. You're going to call up the GP. You're going to go up and you're just going to chat to them about maybe some things that you could do to like help you get through this next stage. And it was like, and I just sort of looked at her and I thought, oh, what do you mean help? But I'm supposed to aren't I supposed to do it all and achieve it all? And yeah, and things completely changed from there. Like I had a proper diagnosis as to what I was going through. My amazing husband, Sam, took all the night feeds for the next 2 weeks because my daughter was bottle fed from that point on, because I struggled with breastfeeding, which was also why the nights were so bad. And I slept. I remember I got and this is so rare I know that many women don't necessarily get this privilege of an 8 hours sleep, but I remember being prescribed melatonin and I was like, what is this beautiful thing that I found in my life? And then we started doing shifts at night, and it was the only way I could get through it. I think I was really not well. So, but it's such a different experience for women.
Absolutely.
Some I don't know how get through those nights for years.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, the getting diagnosed is a big thing. I remember I have a couple of children, and when the oldest one, the first one, was young, I was 5 weeks, and I think I had an emergency cesarean, so I didn't have to do much carrying. And we were sadly, Newtown Festival was closing, but we were at a Newtown Festival, and we were going back to the car with the pram and the bub, in the car, and because my partner did all the pushing and he had to go to the toilet, and it was the first time I stood with the pram, and I was like, this could be anyone's pram. It's not necessarily my pram. I was like, why am I imagining what I look like to other people with a child? This sort of, and maybe, that was just sort of a moment that really stuck out to me, this sort of awareness of the way I perceived motherhood to be, or how I looked like as a mother.
Yes. Constantly looking at you. I feel like I looked at myself a lot, and I don't, and I think it was because maybe it's you're trying to understand who you are again, because you feel like you've disconnected from who you are. Not not literally just physically, I know what I looked like in the first 6 weeks. I've looked back at photos and it's not pleasant. But yeah, you're brave. You did it twice.
Yes, I suppose brave is one thing. You could call it. It could be other things too. But I think also that diagnosis and that kind of reaching out and getting help. If you didn't have your mum saying go up and get help, I think a lot of women just live with it, thinking I just need to do this. Have to.
And they're superheroes.
So how are you taking all of these? You worked a lot with Anthea, and then it's now on the stage. Staging it in there, is there a birth that happens on the stage? I haven't seen it. So is that giving away something?
Look, no spoilers, but possibly. And I will say no more. But it is it's been it's been overwhelming. I think I felt most vulnerable in the rehearsal. There was sort of a moment in the rehearsal room where I watched a run of it for the first time, which is obviously still very different to then what it becomes when it hits the stage and it's on in the theatre. But and that was a moment where I went, whoa, okay, yeah, like this is like really your story, and potentially now, you know, people are going to come and watch this and they're going to not like it possibly or judge it. And so that was a moment where I came to terms with going like, okay, you've got to be just super proud of the story you're telling and not kind of let that stuff get to you. And that was actually really good moving forward, because I really have enjoyed the process. Like I've really enjoyed watching audiences' responses to it, as opposed to sitting there watching it going like, you know, I've actually gone, oh, this is amazing. Like people are laughing and people are crying, and it's felt really positive. Yeah. And Anthea, having her on it from the beginning, meant that I really didn't have to be in the rehearsal room that much, because she knows what the story is. And Brie Allen, you know, Brie is a friend as well, so I know her sense of comedy, and I know that she understood the story I'm telling. So, and then the entire design team, just incredible. Like really, I feel like I've just been this amazing bunch of women all came together to make this piece. And honestly, I watch it and I go, oh, I didn't write that. Like that is in a good way. I'm like, that's much better than what I wrote. So as a first time writer, that's a really, you know, amazing thing, because I know it doesn't always go like that for writers and new work. And particularly being my first play, you are sort of extra vulnerable. So I couldn't be happier really with how, like, they've just done the most amazing job with it. I'm so proud of it.
Yeah. And so you should be. So you're getting, how was it at the opening? Did people come up and like, you know, did anyone hate it?
Well, if they did, they didn't tell me.
No, how was it?
No, it was really amazing. Griffin do 2 openings, and so when I got by Friday, I was a shell of myself, because it's the you know, the adrenaline of sitting there, and when you're not performing, when you're sitting there just watching, you don't actually have anything to like when you're an actor, at least you put the adrenaline out on the stage into the performance. But as a writer, you're just sitting there. All the adrenaline went into people's hands next to me.
And how is that? Like, did you ever think, oh, I wish I could do this? Because it's probably so much a part of you.
Yeah, I mean, originally when I was writing it, I probably imagined myself doing it. But when it became, I think, bigger than I had ever imagined, and it sort of then was suddenly in the hands of a maiden stage Griffin season, oh my gosh, I am so grateful that I think my daughter and husband are about to arrive home, which is good time.
How appropriate, yes.
But I like, honestly, I'm so happy I'm not performing in it, because I think that would have been, like, the pressure would have been way too much for me. And the story is so much greater now because it's in Brie's voice, and she brings more to it. You know, it feels, three-dimensional, as opposed to, like, it's got many people's brains in it as opposed to just me.
Oh, well, terrific. Eloise Snape, thank you so much for taking us into your world of being a mom. And it just sounds fantastic. And it sounds like there's so much that women don't talk about enough and need to.
Yeah, I highly recommend talking about it, and I highly recommend writing a comedy about it.
Eloise Snape, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Well, that was Eloise Snape, and her play Pony is playing at the Griffin Theatre at the moment until the 17th of June. And it's its debut galloping in as a runner-up for 4 awards. That's 4 awards. So great. That's Pony at the Griffin Theatre.